Leo Academy Trust is a group of 9 primary schools. We're located in southwest London and Surrey. We serve over 5,000 children and we have 650 staff spread across our 10 sites.
The Academy Trust is different to other schools and trusts because we use technology which makes everyone feel included, and when I talk to my friends from other schools they don't use technology nearly as much or nearly as well, so we get the best we can out of our learning, which really helps us.
We have one-to-one devices. We always use them either independently or collaboratively, and there's tools for everyone.
What's most important in terms of the technology is that you have something that supports all learners. It's not about just the technology for the SEND pupils, but any pupil can make a choice about what they want to use in terms of using inclusive apps.
Since the start of our one-to-one devices programme, Texthelp has been one of our main partners. We began our partnership in January 2020 and really haven't looked back since. They really are passionate about inclusive education, and really I think their values and principles align totally with those of Leo and really align with what we're trying to achieve through our one-to-one Chromebook programme.
We started using some of the free inbuilt accessibility features in Chromebooks, and they were really powerful for us. They really got us going. But what we learned very, very quickly is that we couldn't have this kind of bolt-on approach. We needed an integrated solution. We needed a child to open up their Chromebook, and it didn't matter what website they went on. It didn't matter what tool they were using. They had those accessibility tools. When I first saw Read&Write and OrbitNote, I knew this would solve the challenges we were facing and ultimately would help us provide the best education for our children.
I can distinctly remember the first time that I experienced Read&Write as a parent. When my child was in year 4, he had a teacher who was a cloud champion, who was really passionate about digital technology and really passionate about finding the right tools to support him on his learning journey. And I remember the day he came home when he'd written a 3-page piece of writing using the voice-to-text in Read&Write, and he was a completely different child.
I first came across Read&Write around 3 years ago, and my first thought was, this would be a great tool for just a few words, a bit of vocabulary. It could just support a few SEN children. And then I quickly discovered that actually it's not just for the SEN children. It's, we talk about being necessary for some, but it's definitely useful for all.
When I first saw OrbitNote, I thought that we could really utilise this within the classrooms to enable all of our children to access the lessons that we had in front of them. Within a reading lesson, we might use OrbitNote so that the children have access to the text in front of them. Then they've got access to a plethora of resources, tools that can enable them to access the text in a personalised manner. They have tools such as screen masks so that they're not feeling overwhelmed by the text. They have the ability to highlight individual words so that they can drag them through and get the vocabulary definition. There's a picture dictionary so that they can look up unknown words and get a widget in response, so it really puts it into context for them. And also there is just a word dictionary so they can understand the word class and definitions, so it really opens up and makes that text accessible to all.
I feel really lucky because not many schools do use Chromebooks or OrbitNote, but having these different apps, it's really helpful because I think it's helped me be able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do before I had OrbitNote.
Technology has been a real leveller in the classroom. It's given a real equity in terms of the provision. It's allowed teachers to adapt their teaching, but it's also allowed children to adapt their own learning.
We've invested significantly in assistive technology tools, not because we think it makes a difference, but because we know it makes a difference.
If we didn't have Read&Write or OrbitNote or Chromebooks in general, it would be I dread to come to school every day. I'm not great at looking at a whole text and I sometimes get overwhelmed. So things like screen masks help me chunk it down into smaller sections. Things like voice to text, which is one of my favourite tools. It really helped me get my ideas down, and I think it's necessary for people like me, but it helps everyone.
When I use OrbitNote or Read and Write, I feel like I can do anything almost, because on paper, like in year 1 and year 2, I would really struggle. But now with Read and Write and OrbitNote, it opens a world like to me. It just makes me feel like proud of myself, like I can do anything.
What would be remarkable is if the provision that we're seeing in place here, where every young person has meaningful and dignified learning experiences that are inclusive for the ways they want to learn, what would happen if that was made available for every child?